Hello YouTube and other tubes of sort. Today is going to be a very special episode of my video game blog, or whatever you want to call it. Today we're going to analyze the world of used video games, in particular stores that sell used video games. A couple of years ago, a friend and I had this conversation that a lot of used video game stores have completely absurd prices for common games, but by virtue of them being classics and being sought after as like the main ROM that you would download when you have an emulator, they would charge a ridiculous amount of money. Like, for example, for the very first Mario, this is a game that you could find in pawn shops in piles. I remember at a pawn shop that I used to go to, they had a stack of about like 15 Marios and Duck Hunts, and they were like giving away for like 75 cents or whatever. But then at some of these specialty video game stores, they sell Mario for like $50, and the guy behind the counter really enforces why they price it for that. He'll say, "Oh, it's a collector. Everyone's looking for it. Blah 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 blah." But meanwhile, you go find a game that's actually rare, and they'll have it for a ridiculously low price. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. Lots of games that you'll see people selling for absurd amounts of money. I remember I seen Dragon Warrior 1 being sold. It came with Dragon Warrior 2. It was Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, two separate cartridges, wrapped in their own saran wrap. Like, this wasn't like from the store brand new. And the guy was selling it for $100 for both. And I was asking him, I said, "Why are you selling the first one for $100? This came in a box of cereal." It's true, it's somewhat. There was I think it was a Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Golden Grams. It was Golden Grams. In like the 80s or the early 90s, you could send away to get subscription to Nintendo Power, and with that subscription to Nintendo Power, they're giving out a copy of Double Dragon. Anyways, I don't know exactly what the story is, but Double Dragon 1 is, or not Double Dragon, sorry, Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior 1 isn't a rarity by a long shot. It's kind of like E.T. They made a lot of copies of Dragon Warrior 1. Dragon Warrior 2, a little bit more rare, but definitely not $100. This weekend I was in an undisclosed city seeing some friends, and I stop into this video game store, and this video game store has this case. The store is really good. It has lots of stuff, like lots of cool stuff, like just a lot of video games. They have this case with video games that are completely common, or if they're uncommon, you know, they aren't as uncommon as something else, for absurd amounts of money. It was just ridiculous. So I figured, you know, for the sake of entertainment, I would take pictures and I would just share with you the ridiculous prices that they had on some of these games that were unbelievably common. Like, holding back here on my profanity because some of these, anyways, I'll show you.